Hey everyone, are partnerships less serious these days? I feel
It's
like that question comes up all the time,
yeah.
especially with, dating apps and hookup culture and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's interesting is that the whole idea of what makes a partnership serious has really changed over time.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, back in the day, things were more serious.
Hmm.
Our sources suggest that it's really more about how our definitions and our expectations have evolved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that the source brings up is this idea of like fear of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that a real thing or is that just media hype? What do you think?
Well, the source kind of connects this fear to some pretty big shifts that are happening in society. Like,
Yeah.
there's this pressure to achieve,
Right.
to constantly be working on ourselves,
Right.
to like grow and improve.
Be the best version of yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And with that kind of mindset, settling down can sometimes feel like, oh, maybe that's not the most appealing thing right now.
It's like we're supposed to be chasing our own fulfillment,
Right.
but also building this rock-solid relationship.
Yeah.
And those two things don't always go together.
It can be tricky, right? Like, how do you balance those two?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, but does focusing on ourselves automatically mean that we can't have serious relationships?
That's a good question. And actually, this source suggests that it's not so much about abandoning seriousness
Okay.
as it is about kind of redefining what seriousness actually means.
Okay.
And, they talk about this concept of conscious dating,
Hmm.
which is all about seeking genuine connection and meaning,
Okay.
even in settings that you might not traditionally think of as being like super serious.
So like meaningful versus serious.
Exactly.
Like what does that actually look like? What is conscious dating?
Yeah, so it's really about being more intentional, I guess,
Okay.
and mindful about how you approach dating.
Got it.
Like instead of just defaulting to, dinner and a movie.
Right. The classic.
Yeah,
But-
exactly. Maybe you suggest an activity that allows you to like connect on a deeper level.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, like, maybe attending a workshop together on communication skills or like
Wow.
volunteering for a cause that you're both passionate about.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
it's like moving past those surface level interactions and really trying to get to know each other.
Exactly. Like, what are your values? What are your aspirations?
Even from the beginning.
Yeah, even in those early stages of dating.
Okay. Interesting.
And, this actually ties back to what the source was saying about individualism.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that we're all like more selfish now.
Okay.
It's that we're encouraged to prioritize like self-discovery
Right.
and personal growth.
Yeah.
And the source suggests that this can actually be a really positive thing for relationships
Okay.
because it allows us to come to the table as like more whole
Okay.
and self-aware individuals.
So like you've done the work
Yeah,
on yourself.
exactly.
So you can then show up
Yeah,
in a relationship in a better way.
exactly. And be like, this is who I am.
I love that.
This is what I want.
Yes.
Let's see if we're compatible.
That makes total sense.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's not like personal growth versus partnership.
right.
It's like you can do both.
Exactly. It's not an either or.
It's like a both and.
Yes.
I love that.
It's about integrating them.
Yeah. And speaking of things that might not go together,
Oh, here we go.
technology and dating.
Oh, yeah. The big one.
What do you think? Does it help or hurt?
I mean, it's a question I think we all grapple with, right?
For sure.
Like, on the one hand, you have access to so many more potential connections
Right.
than ever before.
So many
That's
options.
incredible.
But it can also feel overwhelming
Oh, yeah.
and kind of superficial at times.
Definitely. And I think that's something that the source acknowledges as well.
Okay, so what does the source say about all this?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
The source actually points out that technology can foster deeper connection,
Really?
especially through niche platforms.
Okay.
So think about it. Like, instead of just endlessly swiping through profiles based on like how someone looks,
Right.
you can actually connect with people who share your specific passions,
Okay.
your values,
Cool.
even your like quirky hobbies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like finding your tribe, but in the digital world.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
You're more likely to build something that lasts with someone who gets you
exactly.
from the beginning.
You're already starting from a place of commonality.
I love that.
Yeah, and the source even gives some examples of these niche platforms.
Oh, cool. Like what?
There's apps specifically for book lovers,
Oh, fun.
foodies,
Okay.
outdoor enthusiasts, you name it.
So there really is something for everyone.
It seems like it, yeah.
So cool.
And, it's like technology can actually help us cut through all the noise
Mhm.
and connect with people who genuinely align with our interests and our values.
That's so encouraging to hear.
Right. It kind of challenges that assumption that technology automatically equals superficiality.
Yeah, totally. Like it can be a really powerful tool
Yeah,
if we use it intentionally.
exactly. And that intentionality piece really ties back to what we were saying earlier about conscious dating.
Right.
It's all about being proactive,
Yeah.
choosing platforms and approaches that actually support your desire to have a deeper connection.
Okay, so we've talked about how the definition of serious has shifted
Mm,
and how technology can play a role.
right.
But the source also talks about diverse definitions of serious.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in real life?
I think it really comes down to recognizing that what makes a relationship serious for you
Right.
might look totally different for somebody else,
Right.
and that's okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own recipe for a successful partnership.
Exactly. There's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the source's emphasis on self-awareness comes in.
Right.
It's so crucial to understand your own values.
What you actually want out of a
You
partnership.
can't just rely on societal norms anymore.
Not at all.
Okay, so instead of asking, is this relationship serious enough?
Right.
Maybe the better question is,
Yeah,
does this relationship feel right for me?
exactly.
Does it align with my values?
You hit the nail on the head.
Ooh, I like that.
It's about defining seriousness on your own terms.
Yeah,
And being true to what resonates with you.
which is super empowering.
It is,
Yeah.
right. It takes the pressure off trying to fit into some like predefined mold.
For sure.
Yeah. And it allows you to create relationships that are actually authentic and fulfilling for you.
Yes. And that leads us to another really important point that the source brings up,
Oh, what's that?
the importance of emotional intelligence
Ah, yes. Emotional intelligence.
in navigating modern relationships.
Absolutely crucial in today's world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emotional intelligence. It's so fascinating how the source really emphasizes that.
Totally. But how do we actually,
Yeah.
develop it?
Right. Like, what does it actually look like in a relationship?
That's the big question, right? And, the source acknowledges that there's no quick fix here.
Right.
It's not like you can just take a pill and suddenly you're emotionally intelligent,
Right.
but they do suggest that self-awareness is a really good starting point.
Okay.
Like understanding your own emotional triggers,
Okay.
how you communicate,
Mm-hmm.
even your attachment style can be really valuable.
So it's like knowing yourself is the foundation for actually connecting with somebody else.
Exactly. It just makes sense, right?
Right.
Like, if you don't even understand your own needs and your own emotional landscape,
Right.
how can you communicate them to somebody else?
Yeah, it's like trying to read a map in a language you don't understand.
Ooh, I like that.
You might get the general gist,
Yeah.
but you're going to get lost.
You're going to get lost eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the source also emphasizes empathy
Okay.
as a key element of emotional intelligence.
So being able to see things from your partner's perspective.
Exactly. Being able to understand and share their feelings. Even when they're different from your own.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It takes practice,
Yeah.
patience,
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to kind of step outside of your own little bubble.
Totally. But it sounds like it's worth the effort.
The source definitely makes that case.
Okay.
Like emotional intelligence with empathy at its core
Mm-hmm.
allows us to build deeper, more authentic connections.
And those are the connections that make relationships feel serious and fulfilling.
Exactly. It's not about the label.
Okay.
It's not about meeting some societal expectation.
Right.
It's about the quality of the connection,
Yeah.
the emotional depth that you create together.
I love that. Okay. So if someone is listening right now and they're like, okay, this all sounds great, but I'm feeling a little lost
Yeah.
in this whole modern dating scene.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway? What
Oh.
should they do?
I think the most important takeaway is don't be afraid to challenge the traditional definitions of what a serious partnership should look like.
Okay.
Focus on developing your emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Cultivate that self-awareness.
Mhm.
Practice empathy.
Yeah.
And most importantly, be true to your own values.
Yes.
And seek out connections that feel meaningful to you.
Regardless of what anyone else said,
Exactly.
it's your life.
Love that. Okay, and I think it's easy to get caught up in the idea that technology is the enemy
Oh, yeah.
of all this.
It gets a bad rap.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually, it can be a really powerful tool
You can.
for finding like-minded people,
Yeah.
like we were saying before,
Like, think about it. You could be living in a small town
right?
with very limited dating options.
Yeah,
But with these niche platforms, you can connect with people all over the world
that's true.
who share your passions.
It opens up a whole new world.
It really does.
So there's hope for us modern daters after all.
There is hope.
I love that.
It's got to be a little more intentional,
Yes.
a little more self-aware,
Mhm.
and maybe a little more tech-savvy. I like it. And the source emphasizes this too. Emotional intelligence is a skill.
It is.
You can develop it.
Yeah.
It's not something you're just born with.
It's a journey.
So if you're listening and you're like, I'm not that emotionally intelligent,
Right.
don't worry.
It's okay.
There's hope.
There's hope. There are resources out there.
Yeah. Books, articles, workshops,
Podcasts. Like this one.
Exactly.
There you go.
So don't underestimate the power of learning and personal growth.
Don't underestimate it.
And it sounds like emotional intelligence is a skill that can benefit us in all areas of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just romantic relationships.
It can enhance your communication skills.
Okay.
Your ability to build strong relationships of all kinds, even just your overall well-being.
You convinced me.
I have.
Emotional intelligence is officially going on my to-learn list.
Excellent. I think you'll find it to be a very fascinating and rewarding area of exploration.
I'm excited to dive in.
And who knows, it might just lead you to a deeper, more meaningful partnership than you ever thought possible.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
So to our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of modern partnerships.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've learned a thing or two. Most importantly, that you feel a little bit more hopeful about the possibility of building strong, fulfilling relationships.
Absolutely.
Because it is possible.
It is.
Even if it doesn't always look the way we expect it to.
And that's okay.
Exactly. And remember, the journey starts with you.
With you.
Wow. It feels like we've really shifted from like, is love doomed?
Right.
To love is evolving.
It is evolving.
Which is a much more hopeful outlook.
Much more optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's cool because the source really acknowledges that there are anxieties around commitment in today's world.
For sure.
Like, it recognizes that pressure to have it all.
Right.
But it still manages to be like, hey, but it's not all doom and gloom. Right. There's still a lot to be hopeful for.
Yeah. It's like acknowledging that things are different now.
Yeah.
But different doesn't have to be worse.
Exactly.
Maybe we're just finding new ways to do relationships.
New ways to connect.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way that makes sense for us now.
That fits our current reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what I think is really cool is that the source encourages us to be active participants in this evolution.
Right.
Not just like passive bystanders clinging to the way things used to be.
Yeah.
It's like a call to action.
It is.
You know, like we get to be a part of shaping this.
We get to write the new rules.
Exactly.
So maybe instead of asking like, are partnerships less serious?
Yeah.
The real question is like, how can we create partnerships that actually feel meaningful and fulfilling to us?
That's the question, right? Given all the complexities of modern life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a much better way to frame it.
It puts the power back in our hands.
It does.
Like we get to decide what serious means.
You get to define it.
What commitment looks like.
Yes.
All of it.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
And maybe a little daunting, too.
It's a little daunting.
Because it's like, okay, we have all this freedom.
Right.
But there's no instruction manual.
Yeah, no clear path.
And that's where I think the source's emphasis on emotional intelligence is so important.
It's like the compass.
It is the compass
that we need.
It's the skill set that you need to navigate this uncharted territory.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Always a journey.
And to our listener, if you're feeling lost or confused about your own relationship journey, you're not alone.
You're not alone at all.
The source reminds us that it all starts with understanding yourself.
Yes. Self-awareness.
Your values.
Yeah.
Your needs. Your own emotional landscape.
Get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can start to figure out what you want in a partner.
Be intentional.
Yeah.
Be open to new possibilities.
Exactly.
And maybe even redefine what serious means for you.
Because it's your definition that matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
And who knows, this whole like redefining love thing.
Right.
Maybe it'll lead to even deeper, more authentic connections than we ever thought possible.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes.
Into the world of modern relationships.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it enlightening.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit empowering.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And remember, emotional intelligence is your friend.
It is.
All right. Until next time.
See you later.